Frank Hoffman, 218 Meadowwood Drive. In regards to the appointment of the new road director, where's the money coming from to go? I guess nobody knows where it's coming from. Where's it coming from?
This is just for public comment. The board has the
This is my comment.
It's not for questions though. If you haven't asked a question, the board may respond after.
Okay.
Comments to that.
All right. Well, in regards to it, you know, we're paying a salary to someone who was where it was never even posted for the public, for anybody else could apply for this job. And also, whoever's going to receive this job is not going to come for nothing. So I just want to know, I don't think the township can just pull this, and it wasn't budgeted. I don't think it should happen. I think we're working pretty well with the road department that we have today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vicky Austin, Hemlock Street. I'm referring to item 21, the Bairdford Park concession stand electric. There was a bid on there by Hampton Electrical dated March 12th, but it didn't have a price. It said waiting on vendor. Can you tell me if you got a price for that Hampton Electrical? Or can't answer that? Okay, well, the Hampton bid cited and detailed National Electric Code violations, a critical wiring fault, an immediate safety hazard, and a severe violation. It seems that these are serious issues, and because the township has been made aware of them, the township likely has a liability issue if they aren't corrected. So I'm wondering, do the other bids, which didn't include the level of detail addressed by the Hampton Electric, also include correction of those violations and hazards so that they'd be in compliance with the National Electric Code? And then one other thing I wanted to mention, there's several items on the agenda with no details or information on what will be discussed. Number 23, 27, and 28. I wonder if you could provide an exception allowing comment during the non-agenda public comment period, since we have no information on those issues on which to base our comments. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Leto. I'm a West Here resident off of 21 Hemlock Street. Good to see you guys today. I'm speaking on behalf of the Deer Lakes Region Revitalization Corporation and for agenda item number 22. Also, first and foremost, thank the board for the letter of support putting that on the agenda. Thanks. So thank you for your time and your guys' effort. I want to go off by summary here is that this organization is working to be bipartisan, and there has been bipartisan efforts, which is a good thing. And I think that's a good thing for the rest of the community. I want to first off by saying on February 16th, we had a Russellton facade event, which was a educational event. We had a 50-person attendance, which was including business owners and residents. Jeremy Schaefer, our state representative, was there, and also the state senator Lindsey Williams was there for their support. So that's bipartisan effort right there. And the event was to see if the town of Russellton, like business owners and even residents, were interested. So we had an interest list, and we are gaining interest along the way. So that's good signs. Also, the other thing too is there's a rustling group that's led by the business owners down there. And now they are under our organization, working alongside our subcommittee called Russellton. Now, we've been also working with the Allegheny County Business Development Team and working alongside them. And with their help, we are applying for an implementation grant. So that is what we're trying to achieve here. And that's what's part of the support letter. And in that implementation grant, we're applying for $50,000 that will be used for cleaning up the town of Russellton, maintaining and updating business owner properties, and putting welcoming Russellton signs. So that's the example right there. So we're going to try to put that money into use for those items. So again, I want to Thank you guys for doing this, and if there's any questions during the discussion, I don't mind being a part of that, so thank you guys, and thank you guys for your time.
Okay, anybody else? All right, next, we'll accept the minutes. As for the minutes of the regular business meeting of February 18th, 2026, are there any questions regarding the minutes? I'm going to accept the minutes on February 18th, 2026. So moved as presented. Motion by Mr. Fury, second by Mr. Payne. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That's the monthly financial report. Finance officer's report attached to the finance officer's report. Are any questions regarding the monthly financial report? The motion to approve the finance officer's report is submitted. Have a motion. Written by Mr. Fleming. Second by Mr. McCurry. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That's the list of bills. Are there any questions regarding the list of bills? Do I have a motion to pay the list of bills as submitted and all approved reimbursable items in compliance with the generally accepted accounting practices? So the motion by Mr. Payne, second by Mr. Wigan, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Police chief report. That's for the police chief report. Are there any questions regarding the police chief report?
I had a quick one. Chief, in reading it, and again, it's well done. Thank you. What is the clear audit? Said that the state police did a clear audit. I'm curious what that was.
That's it's a typo. It's a clean audit. It's for one of our systems. The guys use it. We're auditing every year on it.
Okay, so it was just a clean audit. Yeah, safely.
Chief, you have anything else to add?
No.
Okay, thank you. Number 9, acting public works. The acting public works acting foreman's report. Attached is the acting public works foreman's report. Are there any questions regarding the acting public works foreman's report? Engineer's report. Attached is the engineer's report submitted by Mr. Engineering Incorporated. Are there any questions regarding the engineer's report? Planning, zoning, and code enforcement report. That's the planning, zoning, and code enforcement report. Are there any questions regarding that?
Actually, for planning, I was in talk with Amanda regarding the water trucks on the road. Just last night or early this morning, we saw additional trucks on the road going towards Hampton. And as I was on my way out here, one was parked in the fire department parking lot.
And we'll reach out to you, for
Planning, zoning, code enforcement report. That's the planning, zoning, and code enforcement report. Are there any questions regarding that?
I do have one item about that, your report.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So I'm requesting that you all add an item to the agenda templates. So this is based on a change in policy that we need to make moving forward. As a lot of you are aware, when a land development application is approved, they are required to submit a construction cost estimate for the total amount of improvements and then post a bond or a letter of credit to secure that amount. The state also requires that the township release those funds periodically if the developer requests it and if they have completed the work that is earmarked, that those funds are earmarked for. So past practice, as I understand it in West here, has been that those requests have been handled administratively. I think based on a further review with our township solicitor and the instructions that are prescribed under this list in the MPC, which is the state owns the planning and zoning. The state law says that the governing body should really be releasing those funds. So we do have one of those requests that we received about a month ago has been reviewed by Mr. Shue, and it would be a partial release of funds. So the developer for the Kingston plan of lots was requesting the full release of all funds in his bonds. After review by Mr. Shue, he is recommending a reduced amount which would total $983,041.40. That would leave approximately $213,136 left in the bond, which would cover things that haven't been finished yet. So that would be the permanent seeding and revegetation, the landscaping, sidewalks, and final wearing surface on the roadway. So based on what the developer is entitled to under state law, based on the items that they have completed, and Mr. Shu's review, I'm requesting that you add an agenda item tonight that would authorize that release of funds from the bond.
So, Mr. Shu, based on your inspection, the contractor has fulfilled all of his responsibilities relative to this $983,000.
Correct, and the vast bulk of that is for the earthwork, which is obviously anchor for the construction of pretty much the full storage system. And for the initial construction of the road, including basically.
You agree with the remaining balance?
Well, I did. So,
So you agree with everything you said? Mr. Rob, can we add that? No.
Sure. So the way to add that motion would be to make a motion to amend the agenda to add a motion that states, can someone read that for me?
Sure, then it would be a motion to approve the release of $983,041.40 from the performance bond for the Kingston Plan of Loss as per the recommendation from Shoot Engineering dated March 13th, 2026.
I make a motion to open the agenda to add an additional item.
Sounds a lot like what Ms. Blue just said.
Motion by Mr. Payne, if somebody second that.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. McCrory. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Can we go right to the vote?
Yeah, now you need someone to make that same motion, which is that.
I make a motion to approve the release of $983,041.40 from the performance bond for Kingston Plan of Loss as per the recommendation of Chief Engineer dated March 13th, 2026.
Motion approved by Mr. Payne. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Fleming.
Mr. Chairman, before we vote, because this was not listed on the agenda, we do need to provide an additional opportunity for public comment.
Want to take this time to? Does anyone have any public comment on what we were just discussing? Okay. We do. Roll call now. Just do this. All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, man.
Thank you for that, and any future requests, similar nature, will be found in the board as well.
Okay, next is attached to the Western #1 Popular Volunteer Fire Company report. Regarding the #1 Fire Department report. Okay, next would be Western #2 Fire Department report. Are there any questions? #3, attached is the Western #3 Volunteer Fire Company report. Are there any questions regarding this report? Okay. Western EMS report, attached is the Western EMS report. Are there any questions regarding the EMS report?
Just, again, Bill, any update on the issue with the Fox Chapel group that you're working with?
Foxhole, that we're meeting next week, to finalize the date for the DC letter to go, and we've already started gathering information.
And what entity is supporting that? Like, then you have.
Township.
Indiana Township is the lead on that, that's like, or lack of a better.
Yeah, the one municipality that needs to focus on the report, I can't remember the exact word they use.
Well, you needed one of the towns like to send the letter, so that was fine. So, okay, good.
I have a comment. There was a slight deficit. Is that typical for this time of year?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
The beginning of every year, usually January, February, March, end up stepping its changes in reimbursements, changes in insurance, at the beginning of the year, things like that. So it takes a little while to keep it going. Usually by end of April, May, we're seeing it back to where it normally is. It just happens that way every year.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Sudden cardiac arrest presentation.
So I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this. Traditionally, the Sudden Cardiac Arrest Association of Pennsylvania does things like this. There's been some change in management leadership with them. And it was very hard and difficult to get things set up with them. and continue conversations with changes. So I decided I was gonna do it myself. So. So we're all- For those of you who haven't met yet, my name is Bill Humes. I'm the director of West Deer EMS. Tonight, we gather to recognize something truly extraordinary, not just excellence in duty, but excellence in humanity. In moments of crisis, when seconds matter and uncertainty is its highest, we rely on a very special group of people. People who run towards uncertainty, people who remain calm when others cannot. People whose training, courage, and compassion come together in a way that quite literally saves lives. This evening, we're here to honor members of West Deer Township Police Department, West Deer Volunteer Fire Company number 3, Quick Response Service, QRS, and West Deer EMS for doing just that. Twice in recent history, the 2 separate events, actually spanned by like a year or more. That's why we're doing these all together. One at home, one on a golf course. Patient suffered sudden cardiac arrest in West Deer Township. Without sudden recognition and reaction and the response that followed, they most likely would have died. Their hearts had stopped, they stopped breathing. Too often, the outcome of these types of events is very bleak. The pieces all need to fall into place to give the best possible chance of survival. In the event that happened at home, family recognized the situation immediately, started CPR, and contacted 911. At the golf course, there was actually a random bystander playing another round of golf with her boyfriend, who realized there was a problem, started CPR, and contacted 911. The 911 telecommunication operators at Allegheny County 911 then received the calls. They locked in the location and confirmed that the proper units were dispatched. What followed in both instances was a response marked by professionalism, teamwork, and unwavering commitment to those in need. These officers, responders, and EMS professionals arrived quickly, assessed the situation, and took decisive action. They performed CPR, defibrillated both patients, and provided advanced life support care. They worked together with one goal in mind: life. I just got out that way. In both instances, on the scenes, the patients regained pulses and were then transported to the hospital. They were in the hospital for a while, where they recovered and were discharged home to their families shortly thereafter. This group's coordination, skill, and dedication under pressure made the difference between loss and survival. Because of their actions, someone is alive today. Someone has more time with family, more memories to make, and more tomorrows to look forward to. The chain of survival truly works. And the reason we're doing this is too often the work of first responders happens quietly without recognition. But moments like this remind us why what they do matters so deeply. They carry immense responsibility and do so with humility, courage, and heart. So we're going to take time to recognize the responders from these 2 events. Not all of them could be here tonight. So for those that are behind me, when I call your name, if you could line up so I can put a face with the names. And then if we could hold the applause till the end, that'd be great, because there's 2 events, so there's several providers. So the first event, which is the event that happened at home, the police response was from Officer Colin Cadlick, Officer Matt Evan, and Deputy Chief Tim Burke. From the QRS response, and also from West Deer EMS, was paramedic Alan Gall and firefighter Ben Burns. And then on the ambulance was paramedic Amanda Cafasso and Abby Smith, who couldn't be here as well. So they created certificates for each of them as life-saving award. That's what they've done. The second event, the only person on both events, Officer Colin Cadlick, Officer Isaac Zarensky from QRS at West Deer Volunteer Fire Company number 3 was paramedic Michael Artman. And for West Deer EMS, we had paramedic Dom Santucci, advanced EMT Laura Santucci, EMT David Handren, and EMT Monica Hinda. So So in order to celebrate this occasion, challenge coins were created. For those who don't know how challenge coins work, is more than just a keepsake. It's just kind of a symbol of respect and appreciation. Traditionally, challenge coins are given to recognize exceptional service, teamwork, or acts that go above and beyond the call of duty. They are definitely not lightly earned, and they are not handed out casually. In public safety, receiving a challenge coin is quite powerful, but definitely an acknowledgement that says, we see what you did and it definitely mattered. Many recipients carry these coins for years, not because of how they look, but because of what they represent. The coins are often customized with department emblems, badges, mottos, and other things. These are marked with a moment in time, a special date, to recognize an action that made a real difference. For many first responders, a challenge coin becomes one of the most meaningful recognitions they receive. And I have those here. What you got? Over here. This side. Let's get down here. Yeah. Thank you. This is the side. This award represents our appreciation, our respect, and our thanks for your actions, your professionalism, and your commitment to protecting life. I also have a little something else that we traditionally give at these events. Just kind of a reminder that help mark this special occasion. It's a little something to help remember the lifesavers you actually are. It's not my favorite song. Because you like to. You can see pictures.
I do, I want to.
All right. Let me get. Yeah, I know. You did the back. I did my way also, because then she was up. Yeah.
No worries, it's both, it's fine. So you can see. Oh, no, I'm with.
Right, get out of the way.
No, wait for them to get in.
No, we didn't.
You belong in there. You can load in there. Okay, ready? No, great. One, two, three.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Keep the whole meeting.
You don't put stuff. It's nice to see you. You guys.
In ordinance number 463, police taser policy. An ordinance of the Township of West Deer to amend the West Deer Township police policies and procedures regarding the use of energy weapons, generally known as tasers, to authorize the implementation and enforcement of the said policy and procedures by the chief and police and township manager, and providing for certainty. Are there any questions regarding the ordinance?
Just a comment that it was extremely well written and it was very humane. Like through it, there was a theme of, we don't want to do this unless we have to, like through the whole way. So.
Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 463?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Fleming, second by Mr. Mercury, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Adoption resolution number 2026-03 C2P2 grant application. A resolution authorizing the township manager to apply for and sign, if approved, the DCNR C2P2 grant for continuing the Bairdford Park portion of the Western Township Master Park Plan, the Western Dog Shelter and Municipal Complex Walking Trails Parking Area. The resolution will be provided to the board prior to the meeting. Are there any questions regarding the resolution?
Mr. Chair, I have a comment. The resolution before the board, I mentioned would be handed out prior to the meeting. This is just for the resolutions. The short title is the resolution authorizing the township manager to apply for and sign, if approved, a DCNR C2P2 grant for continuing the Bairdford Park portion of the Western Township Master Park Plan. Nothing else that was in the original resolution exists. We can't do anything for the dog shelter or walking trails here. So this is just for the concession stand portion of Bairdford Park.
Do we all understand that? All right, do we have a motion to approve?
I make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Payne. Second by Mr. Fleming, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Adoption of resolution number. Yeah, this is the one that we're gonna blame our township manager's eyesight a little bit. He's getting old, we'll forgive him. We're gonna switch number 21 with number 19 was 25, sorry. So instead of approving the for the sewer module, we're gonna approve the plan itself. Be number 25 for the Palm Montag plan of lot subdivision. We're looking for an approval on the subdivision itself before we can approve the sewer module and approve the sewer module for a plan that doesn't exist. So would anybody like the motion to approve the plan itself first?
I make that motion to approve the subdivision.
Motion by Mr. Payne.
Before we get second, were there any conditions? I'm trying to scroll through.
Yeah. The subdivision, the planning commission recommended approval of the Palm Montag preliminary and final subdivision plan in their meeting. Property location is 502 Bairdford Road, Bairdford, PA. Zoning is R4, urban residential, 2-lot subdivision. Lot to measure 1.0998 acres, total acreage 4.9298 acres. Are there any questions regarding the subdivision plan? Do I have a motion to approve the Palm Montag preliminary and final subdivision plan per the recommendation by the planning committee?
Yeah.
Second by Mr. Fleming, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Let's scroll back to number 19. Thanks. Yes. All right, so we'll go on to 20. Sorry. All right, the adoption of resolution number 2026-04 sewer planning module. Okay, yeah, now we'll approve the sewer module. Do we have a motion to approve the sewer module for that plan of lots? Motion by Mr. McCurry, second by Mr. Wigan, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we go on to 20. Appointment and hiring a public works director. Through the process of promoting a public works foreman due to the retirement of Frederick Ricky. The board has decided to appoint and hire a public works director to oversee the department. Are there any questions about the public work director hiring? Do I have a motion to appoint and hire Michael Funk as the public works director effective May 1st, 2026?
Yeah, that motion.
Motion by Mr. Fleming. For second. Second by Mr. Fury. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Right. Next is the authorization of Bairdford Park concession stand electric option. The last meeting, the board directed the township manager to receive additional quotes from electricians and to add to the findings of this agenda for possible action. So Mayor, would you like to comment? There's some things that have taken place since then.
Yes, I'm sure everybody's aware. It was on the news. A tree actually fell on the concession stand building and took out probably didn't destroy the whole thing, but took out the core of the building itself. So
The electric lines, the least of our worries at this point.
right, but what I did is I was alerted to that Saturday. We turned it into an insurance company on Saturday. Our public works crew went and secured the area, removed the tree. And
The tree fell on the panel, on the electrical panel side.
here on the side. The panel's still there. Our insurance company contacted me and said that they will be setting up, a claims adjuster was assigned and they'll be in contact with me. As of right now, I don't have anything more to advise the board on in this regard. I don't know exactly what you can do.
I would think we should table this one, just we'll figure out what's going on. Yes, so is everybody on that?
I've been in contact with baseball as well. And they sent an email to the board yesterday. I don't know if everybody had a chance to see that.
Yeah.
So they're working on ways to work around this and
So is there any plan to assist them in their plans to, I mean, obviously this is a big hit for them, financially and for the concession. They're talking about, in their email, talking about putting up a shed of some kind, a temporary shed. Is there any way we can, partner in any way to help them or? I mean, it's on our property, so you feel a little bit of responsibility.
that's sort of, I don't know that yet because like I said, the actual person assigned to the claim has not reached out to me yet. Maybe give them a container.
Yeah, and also, Dan, I sent you that specs on a container, people, if you can get them all shapes and style or what you need or what they're looking for. I'm not sure on the pricing. I figured we take a look at that, see if we can help them that way.
When we know if the insurance company will help with that.
I don't know. They're usually quick, there's usually quick turnaround with our insurance companies. They moved a lot of stuff out there. That's what they said in their email. But we just don't know, the insurance company turns around things rather quickly.
Yeah.
Whereas there's other thing going on in the area. You don't know that there's a lot of stuff.
We know, I know originally that structure was there and we're gonna use it for storage. Do we necessarily need storage or can we do something temporary that they can use on mobile?
Well, we did use it for it now. They mentioned the possibility of storage. We talked about, the grand scheme was building new concession stand in the middle of the field. We applied for an LSA grant last year. That has some traction right now. I don't know how much. We won't know that until later this year. Once that new concession stand is built, the old concession stand was going to be, was a public storage similar to what's next to Bairdford Park Pavilion. So the lawnmowers, things like that would be stored in that. It would be retrofitted basically to become more of a garage or shed in a building. And then after that, the existing garage next to the pavilion was to become a kitchenette with a roll-up door. So all the dominoes have to fall in place and I don't know how else to put this, like everything was in motion already for new concession stand, but this happened probably about a year or two too early.
Regardless of what we repurposed that building for, I mean, it has to be repaired, yes.
Yes, people do have needs for that building.
Yes, what the Deer Lake Chief Baseball president reached out to me, we talked about that because the rumor on the street was that we were gonna tear it down. And I said, no, I said that we hadn't even crossed our minds to tear that down because we have a plan for that in the future. So as Mr. Hall just mentioned, we want to tear it down because we have a plan, we're planning to tear it.
So given that the baseball season's upon us, like what kind of timeline, planning do they need? You know, like, it seems like they're out there now a little bit in the cold, literally. You know, so how do we, is there a way that we can assist them in somehow so that you can,
We don't know, I mean, that happened on Saturday.
Right.
We submitted it Saturday, we received a notice from our insurance company yesterday. So unfortunately, it's just really bad time. We could call for an
City would have to be asked, is this board gonna help the baseball?
Right.
Yeah, I think
That's the main question.
I think we're all in agreement to do that, but I think we should wait, and try to expedite the insurance company and see if we can get them to pay for a container or anything else they would need. And if they can, I'd say let's call for an executive session and we'll try to help them.
And a lot of times that container place, still listen to the hardship to the or charge for it, but I'm sure Dan can talk to them.
And along those lines too, Ms. Lucas received a call, she forwarded it to me, from EQT. Asking, because a lot of the companies have, funds where they try helping out municipalities, and so when they hit the news, they reached out on their own. So we're trying to get basically accumulate all the information and come up with a game plan, but we're just not there yet because it's so recent. Why don't we give it a couple of days and let Danny see what he can do with the insurance company? Very all executive session. Is there a way that we have to just make sure they're not?
Yeah, Dan, just make sure that the president of the baseball association knows we're on top, we're trying to be on top. We gotta make sure that even the stars align. She's the insurance company.
Already, that's what they're talking about. Now, we're gonna see what the insurance company does first, and then we'll keep moving as quickly as possible. We'll stay on Dan, not that we have to, he'll be on it tomorrow, I'm sure.
So do you still want me to send a message out, Mr. Fleming?
It's not money.
So along those lines, we mentioned earlier under public comment, the one electrical report was pretty alarming. And we talked about safety issues and reliability issues and violations, like I read this stuff, like, now that we know about that.
Well, Mr. Hullabah actually, and I spoke about this on Saturday when I learned at the board, what happened. My take, and again, I can't comment on this right now. I can't say for sure this is going to happen. My take is any repair that takes place at that building is going to have to be inspected. When it's inspected, all those things will be remediated.
Okay, that's because reliability wise, how do we know, right? On safety of those kids, and the electric's on now, right? You told me that if it's off.
They took that on Saturday.
The electric shut off.
We're good. There's some more safety hazards in that building now.
Right. I mean, I went down and looked at the building. Yeah, I went down and spent that. It was a pretty good sized tree. Yeah, a big tree. But you said the things line now, so.
So regarding the timeline, because this will be the last meeting before baseball season starts. The building, if it's repaired or what we decide to do with it, still won't have electric. How are we going to get electric to that building?
All of this is tied together, Mr. Wigan. Like if we're running electric, how do we know what we, like Mr. Payne mentioned in that one report and everybody else has discussed? We're trying to pull all this together. So what do we need going to that building? What will the insurance company cover? We don't know any of that stuff yet.
I mean, you got a price here of generators between $12.50 and $4,000, depending on what you're running, right, future what. I mean, we have that option too, but if we put the building together and we go with a generator, so we get the power straight down.
Yeah, because we don't know how long it's going to take.
I don't think that's there's not even need for a generator at this point. They don't have anything to.
Well, that's where we go. I mean, Josh's question is, baseball's coming up, so we're gonna have to do this off the cuff. pretty much the end here, if you get that information, get it to us so we can get this going, right, any which way we can.
Yeah, if they think it's something mobile, then that's moved, who knows? Would this be an option for a food truck to come in? Yeah, something similar.
So that's the whole service I gave them, that's, you know, so you get ready anything you want, they got deep fryers, generally, they got everything you want.
Would, and based, since this was here today, I'm not gonna provide any additional information. Maybe.
Well, I think if they're gonna, if we have to rent the food truck or something for that big for the insurance, maybe cover that. So maybe, how about we give it till the end of the week for Dan to deal with the insurance companies to get us some answers, and then we call for executive session to.
Absolutely.
Can we make that decision in executive session, or does it have to be a public meeting?
I think
You're talking a special meeting as opposed to an executive session where we advertise on these news, you know, to action.
Yeah. Be great, just so we can get them up and running for baseball. Everybody agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's what baseball needs to hear. We're with you. Like, we're gonna help you here. Right? That's what they want to happen. Right?
So we're on it, we'll move as fast as we can, we'll push Dan, and we'll get it done.
You have it all figured out by Friday, right, Dan?
Yeah.
Can I just ask why there was such a huge difference in the quotes we have on the agenda for tonight?
There, we just reached out, we gave everybody the same parameters, and some people came in lower, some people came in higher.
The one that was like $750 said that like it didn't include just about everything. It didn't include, right? It didn't include labor. It just, yeah, it was pretty weak.
The 578 was actually taking good. If you want to use it perform any work, it's just to do what everybody else already
We
did.
need to take a look at all the wiring now to see how far things have to go, what was damaged, and what we're gonna do. I mean, let's give it a day or two. We have bigger problems now. They can't use that building anyway. Let's get them possibly.
I don't think he's voting at all, I don't know, I can look at it a lot. Speed, it's a look at people, because we're very. Yeah, it's bad, you know, a lot of what I don't get, it's bad. Squirrels coming in.
It's okay.
I think they were in four. Back when I did building here.
The koala bears.
All right, moving on. We have the tables.
We don't have to, since everything. Next is the authorization of the Derelict Regional Revitalization Committee letter of support. The board has been requested to authorize a letter of support on behalf of the Derelict Regional Revitalization Committee. A copy of the letter will be provided to the board prior to the meeting. Are there any questions regarding the letter of support? Do I have a motion to authorize the township manager to send the letter of support to the Derelict Regional Revitalization Committee's behalf? So moved. Motion by Mr. Payne. Second by Mr. Fleming. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is the authorization of the dog shelter water line concrete pad. Are there any questions regarding the dog shelter water line and or concrete pad? I guess we can talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, let's get a little background.
So the gentleman that had volunteered to put the water line in has decided that he does not want to do that water line anymore. So we were talking maybe the township or probably handle that.
It's wanted to do it. Other than what he proposed.
Right, he wanted to tear the concrete out of it, come that way, instead of doing a straight line right to the water line. So we gave him another option of going a straight run, and he didn't want to do that. He wanted to tear the concrete up.
You want to go up where the line was separated and pull apart or connected there and up where it was separated again on the other side of the pad down there. Which we don't know how it was disconnected.
Right.
The meter pit's right below that, it's on the right hand side and it's about 3.5 foot deep, 4 feet deep. We could tie right on the meter pit
And take a straight line.
lost out of the meter pit.
Yeah, the option we gave him was a complete straight line.
Yes,
Mr. Fleming and I met with him. It's a direct straight line. It's probably the easiest option. Would you not agree? Mr. Fleming?
I think it was, especially coming out of the meter.
I agree. I want to do that.
Would it just be on If you were standing on the street looking back, it would be on the left side or the right side of the vehicle.
Staying on the street on the right side, a direct shot from the water crop to the building.
So the rear side and the rear end of the asphalt.
It's just that it wasn't part of the asphalt parking lot. It was just a little flare that they added on. It was a piece that you probably have to take maybe 2 feet off of. And it flared up in the air. It was really wasn't a big deal, but that's the easiest way to get in there.
All the
No
way,
concrete saw, cut one piece of asphalt and get it on there.
all the way down the building side.
All the way down the concrete pad side.
Would you, how would we get across the road? We saw like the road in front of the hotel as well.
Yes. That will be for that.
You do have an option there. You can make a 90 left at the end and tie in. But I don't have time to just not replace the whole line. You don't know, that line's been in there a long time.
If you're gonna go that route, it makes sense to put full line. I agree with you there.
If you don't want to tear up anything around the building, we could just tie it to the existing line, but with a new remodeling or relocation of the dog shelter, I mean, we could essentially tie right in there and get it done. And I think we could do that fairly quickly. We're not today. Yes, I spoke with Public Works crew, acting Public Works foreman, and he said they can do it and they're actually excited to do something like that. Yeah.
Are we, so whenever that new line goes in and it resolved by that asphalt, are we gonna finish the project and get bids for the asphalt of the concrete since we're doing it?
Yeah, we certainly can. I think
it'd be good.
I think at one time, Mr. Small, you were here, you said you patched the asphalt.
You don't touch the asphalt.
Could you also splice the bid for the, covering the, path?
You don't see an issue with, the hydrant or anything like that?
Take a look at it, Dan, but
Okay. Yeah, I think we should just at least look at it.
Sure.
Get some bids.
another thing too, if we need a plumber, I'll make sure that happens. No cost to the township, and I also might be able to get funding for that. I'm working on that right now.
Thank you, Mr. Fleming. Township workers know that as well.
So we're gonna pay the Public Works guys to do this. And back to all the, and back to all the asphalt.
I'll take care of that.
Yeah, that would be our option.
So it would have been free for the taxpayers otherwise.
We have a terrible concrete pad that we didn't want to do.
Okay, so can we put on the agenda a decision for that concrete pad, because I'm gonna be looking at it lately, there's holes and cracks all through it, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, but even goes so far as to put up caution tapes so people don't walk on it.
I think that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but yeah, I think it's. Definitely.
Cinder blocks are in it.
Not only Mr. Small, when would you be able to look at that to assess and get a bid for that concrete?
I'll do it this week.
Okay.
Thank
Can we get a couple other bids too, just to see, and then, we can go from there.
You want to put it on the agenda, Dan?
We might as well wrap it up for whatever we're doing.
I agree.
Whenever we're doing that, if we're gonna pay road that, are we putting any kind of, parking islands in or anything like that, or is it just gonna go straight asphalt? Right?
Mr. Shu came up with a design that can get to the board. We applied for a grant couple of last year.
Okay.
For that, he has the entire drawing drawn up. But if we don't get the grant, we could just pay it over the entire thing.
Well, I mean, if we don't get the grant, and we're gonna put an island there, we just rip that part of the swamp, just slide above it.
Last year.
For that specifically.
Not for that specifically, it's for the concrete sidewalk, the walking trails and parking lot.
That you need to that.
I believe so.
And so the public's aware that Mr. Fleming and Mr. Hollenbaugh did meet with Mr. Gall and went over this, reviewed it, walked it, talked about it, right? Yeah, so. Just wanted to make sure people were aware of that.
Well, first thing I like to say is thank you to Mr. Gall for even put it up there to this. That was a very thing for his community. It's the aspect of it. Just in my thought is taking that concrete out. Pretty liable for somebody to do, and what if somebody gets hurt? What happens?
Mr. Hollenbaugh, did you offer to do it, Jim?
The water. Sure, I'll Yes, we wanted to, but yeah, said the township orders, that water line, simple water line, it's 4 feet deep. It's a straight line. It's not like problems whatsoever. So we have, that's a 1 day job. We not day, I would think. Those guys, I mean, yeah, it's sort of cutting that portion. The parking that's going this way, where the old generator used to be. Right. Saw cutting that, then digging out, bringing it by. This isn't a bigger deal than everybody making.
Yeah, but we had residents offer to saw cut it, the concrete, to hit the water line, no cost to the township. We had a guy,
If you looked at what we looked at, there was no reason to go through the concrete. The water crop is on the other side. Everything. To make more work than we have to. And
so we are now, so the plan thing is so we don't have to saw cut to bring the asphalt.
it's the edge of the asphalt. Josh.
Alright.
The water line.
Now we have a big motion.
It's nothing to. Yes, we have nothing to accept what Ted's. No longer being interested in the water line when I've been in the township orders. I would actually just, if you're gonna make a motion, I'd make a motion to authorize me to have the public works guys do in the fashion you described. So that's all clear.
Make the motion that, Dan, authorize the installation of the water line for the, dog shelter utilizing the township employees. Per the specs that Mr. Hollenbaugh and Mr. Fleming have discussed.
Second. Motion by Mr. Curie, second by Mr. Fleming, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay. Take a short. Mr. Payne?
I just wanted the water line in, but this is the only way it's gonna be in, so,
Mr. Wigan?
Yeah.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mr. McCurry?
Yes.
Mr. Hall? Yes. Mr. Shadow, motion carries 4-1. Next. All right, authorization of energy credit consultant. As has been mentioned in the past, the new township building is LEED certified, was built with the energy efficiency in mind and qualifies for a federal energy investment tax credit. The Alliant Group is the consultant working with our HVAC contractor after evaluating our plans and invoices. They provided a professional services agreement. It is attached. Are there any questions regarding the energy credit consultant agreement?
Mr. Chair, I just want everybody to know, I reached out to the company to get a revised agreement. The revised agreement is 5% as opposed to 6%. So they took some part of their fee out, so it's a better deal now.
Do I have a motion to authorize the township manager to execute the energy credit consultant agreement with the Alliant Group as presented? Motion by Mr. McCurry. Second by Mr. Fleming, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Moving on. We already did the Palm Montag plan, we can skip that. Award the 2026 road program plans, specifications and bid documents were prepared by Shoup Engineering for the 2026 road program. The project was advertised and sealed bids were received until 1:30 PM on Thursday, March 12th, 2026, at which time they were opened and read up aloud in public. Contract 2601, work consists of milling existing asphalt, installation of hot mix, super pave binder and wearing courses, base, repair, backfilling, and other miscellaneous work on 11 township roads. Alder Street, Aspen Lane, Birch Lane, Hawthorne Lane, Hickory Street, Juniper Lane, Laurel Lane, Magnolia Drive, Poplar Street, Sycamore Street, and Willow Way, totaling approximately 8,510 feet in length. Alternate bids for the similar hot mix work were received for 2 other township roads, McIntyre Road and Weston Dorseyville Road, totaling 5,500 feet in length. Contract 2602, work will consist of a double bituminous seal coat on 2 township roads, McIntyre Road and Shepherd Road, totaling approximately 11,400 feet. Alternate bids for similar work were received for 8 other township roads: Denning Road, Third Way, Sixth Way, Seventh Lane, Eighth Way, Blueberry Lane, Holly Lane, and Walnut Street, totaling approximately 8,900 feet in length. The bid results are attached. Contract 2601 hot mix asphalt. The township engineer and township manager are recommending the board award the base and the alternate A, and recommending alternate B be added to the base bid of 2027 road program. Are there any questions about contract 26-01 hot mix asphalt? So a motion to award the 2026 road program hot mix asphalt paving contract 26-01 to Shields Asphalt Paving in the amount of $489,053.50 for the base bid, in the amount of $327,007.50 for the alternate bid A. Motion by Mr. Fleming, second by Mr. Fury, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. All right, contract 2602 cold mix asphalt. The township engineer and township manager are recommending the board award the base bid, alternate A and alternate B of the cold mix portion of 2026 road program. Are there any questions about contract 26-02 cold mix asphalt? So I have motion to award the 2026 road program cold mix asphalt paving contract 26-02 to Youngblood Paving, the amount of $110,778.30 for the base bid, in the amount of $76,282.40 for the alternate bids A and B. So moved. Motion by Mr. Payne. Second by Mr. Fleming, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion of board meeting protocol arrangement and rules. Mayor, Mr. Hall. Kevin, you got it.
I don't know if the board had a chance, I know it's, you're already, it came out the 11th hour, but, I sent a memo out to the board today, discussing, the fact that this, what we heard last month, and we hear about, public comments, discussion items, things like that, are not unique to Webster Township. The Concession State Association of the Township Supervisors, of which this board are members, that organization had an article was up the front, on the front cover, talking about how it's the board's responsibilities, the elected official responsibilities to ensure that meetings are cordial and active, something along those lines. Literally 2 days after the last meeting, there was an article in the Post Gazette talking about how there's a difference between something I said actually in the newsletter last year. To one article about there's a difference between direct democracy and representative democracy. What we have here is representative democracy with supervisors are elected on behalf of the entire township to represent the full township. And direct democracy is what you see more like in town hall meetings in New England and things like that, where you only have 100 people in the municipality and everybody is one person. Direct democracy is one person, one vote. It's not where people being represented. So the newspaper article in the Post Gazette touched on that topic. And there's a lot of different ways to look at agendas, but the bottom line is an agenda is designed to put out the information out to the public, so the public knows what the board is going to be talking about. General. If you look at other municipalities, this came up last year. We talked about transparency, talked about last year in these meetings, and we were compared to other municipalities. One of those municipalities was Richland. And Richland's agenda is 2 pages long. Indiana's is 1, Hampton is 3. I just pulled them off the internet this morning. I came from two municipalities before working in Webster Township, and our agendas were never longer than 2 pages long. When I got to Webster Township, and I say this in a totally joking way because it was funny when it happened. When I first started in Webster Township, and Mrs. Sopka, who was the secretary at the time, gave me my first copy of the agenda. I looked at her and I said, "What the heck is this?" And she said, "This is our agenda." And I read through it and I said, "This isn't an agenda, this is a script." And over 17 years of being here, we still have the same script, and that's fine. Like I said, the board in my memo today, you're not gonna hear any gripes from me. If it works for the board, it works for the board. We changed a lot of things over my term here. When I first got here, I don't think we have, if I remember correctly, we didn't have public comment periods. There were only 2 or 3 people who showed up in the audience and they just blurted out whatever they wanted to. And the supervisors said, what can we do about this? And we implemented 1 public comment period. Over the years, it's changed. Mr. Fleming was in chairperson for 8 years. I changed it at least 2 times during that period. And just a couple of years ago, we changed the public comment period at the beginning and the end of the meeting to say agenda items only at the beginning and non-agenda at the end. I heard comments last month made by a couple of supervisors. I heard some comments by people in the public. And the reason we did that simply is that at the beginning, there's no sense in having a comment period at the end of the meeting to talk about the motion that was already made, other than to either insult or blow over the board. And that's the way that was happening. So we moved the agenda items only to the beginning with the first one, non-agenda at the end. My recommendation to the board, as I said in my memo, if you want to eliminate those, that's fine, because this would go back to the way we used to have, we were just public comments. But if you do that, I would recommend just having one public comment period at the beginning, so people can talk about agenda items and non-agenda items at the beginning of the meeting. As Mr. When it comes to the actual public comments themselves, Mr. Rob mentioned a couple people asked questions today that it's, we were taught this at our public conferences. Sort of managers associations for the chief line. So we go to the chief side. Go to our PowerS conference, they always teach us public comment periods, public comment periods, called public comment periods for a reason. It's not public questioning, not public debate, it's public comment. That might seem like a stifling discussion, but it is. What that means is if anybody has a question, they have 28, 29 or 30 days before that meeting to bring it up to the administration or to the supervisors. Question is going to be answered that. If somebody has a question, say on Friday when you're done, it goes out and they ask us that question. And we get an answer. There's nothing wrong with somebody coming to that podium, the same exact person, whether it be a supervisor or speaking to the public, asking a question or comment. To say, I contacted the township on Friday and I asked this question, this is what I found. I have a comment on that. And that's part of the democratic process. So it isn't stifling, it's engaging, it's allowing people to offer input without, for lack of a better word, sniping. In the past, we've had national supervisors ask questions of our former finance officer, and this guy's, you're lucky that this does not happen to you. Asking, what is that? I noticed there's when we asked questions during list of bills. Supervisor would say, this is an artist. What was this chat for? Well, this is an artist. No, this is an artist. This is one-way chats. Here are both artists. She's not going to. And it's not fair. This is an artist, and we could see exactly what was happening there. They were looking for an answer. They were looking to snipe. Because if they wanted an answer, they would call it outside of this meeting, not during this meeting. When she doesn't have a computer in front of her, she had no access to any have or documents. So, along those lines, one said to me, I was at a conference last year. The International Managers Conference, and a manager from Dallas, Texas. They had the same issue. They have people, everybody's frustrated. People on both sides, the elected officials, appointed officials, everybody. Because some people thought they were being heard. So the meetings were off the rails, all kinds of chaos there. She told us what they did there, and I know Dallas is not Western Township, but it's still the same principle. She said what they did is they created rules. They created rules for the public, they created rules for the board supervisor, and they stick to those rules. And they said, if somebody has a question, say for example, somebody didn't have an opportunity to call before me. They come up and ask a question. Sheriff person states, well, I answer the question, just like Mr. Rob mentioned. And then a member of the administration, whoever that may be, whether it be, since you're volunteering today, Jen. Somebody from here, Ms. Lucas, or even myself. Else would have somebody from the staff in the audience, that they would walk up to that person, take down their name, their contact information, and what their complaint, what their question was, and they were come back to. And there's a much more strict way they handle these meetings. Public discussion, public comments, discussion amongst the board, everything. And if there's a problem with the minutes, and it's found that day, that's fine. If there's a problem with the minutes and somebody finds it on Monday, that's just no good. So you bring it up here at the day, so remember we can make that change prior to the meeting.
Can I say, after last month's meeting, the two major concerns was the public comments being limited, the time being limited, and the discussions that provided very little information. I think, what you propose kind of narrows the board's power and authority. We can't talk outside of this public meeting to one another. When there's an issue that a resident brings up that needs some deliberation, so that we can provide you with some guidance as the township manager. I think that needs to happen. And I think for the last 8 to 10 years, that hasn't been happening. And, I think the end result of that is we keep getting hand down the road on some things because I individually come to you and we talk. And then I talk to Bill one-on-one, and he brings up a good point. Well, now I go back and talk to you again. And then I go talk to the other two, see what their ideas are. Like that, I feel should be happening here in public. I mean, if it's something that we can't get to an agreement on right away, then it's stable. So following up. But I think, like with the dog shelter, with the concession stand, with the road paving program, had I not brought that stuff up during the meeting, that's the discussion topic, it would not have gone anywhere, or I would have had to have 6 different conversations.
I don't disagree with you at all, right? I believe discussion is important. That's why we have about 5 or 6 discussion items on here today.
But I think we should put on there as to a little bit of substance as to what it is, so people can make a determination on whether or not, oh yeah, I know they're gonna talk about, we're gonna discuss, I'm not gonna go to the meeting tonight, but I'm gonna be sure I go to the meeting tonight. And make sure that they know, what their position is. It's very frustrating getting on that side. And I'll be honest, that's kind of what motivated me to be on this side. Because we told people to, we're not getting to your questions, we told them to stop and sit down because their time was up. And I think, and in the absence of us individually holding down goals, how do we have a table? If they're missing some engagement, or maybe they bring up something that none of us thought about, or maybe they have more knowledge about a particular issue that needs to be addressed.
So why does that have to be done solely on the meeting? Why can't somebody reach out anytime during the month and send me an email saying, hey, that's on to board supervisors, which I would do.
So because we can engage in that labor,
It's not about engagement. What you have on here is these discussion items, right? These discussion items, and as I mentioned in the memo, again, I'm going to everybody had a chance to read it. These discussion items, Mr. King, you asked last month, we used to have new business and old business. Old business and new business in order on our agenda. They're not on the. What these discussion items are nothing more than slightly more formal new business. Because if the way it used to work is there's new business on the agenda. And the board of supervisors, any board member could say, I have something, walk control the park. Like, can we discuss that? It would be grand. The only difference between that and this is these actually have headings. So you see boarding and protocol management rules and all sort of plans. Instead of somebody just bring it up on the board.
okay, so the discussions are old business. Is the stuff that we previously discussed.
But has this been discussed? I mean, the dollar sort of plans a lot of this stuff, as I mentioned in the memo, when it comes to discussion items, the board, it's hard for the public to comment on something that the board hasn't even discussed, as like you said. If it's something you need to discuss, you need to discuss it. They're not voting on these issues. You're not voting on these issues. These issues are for discussions for future meetings. So if something comes from this, if like the board meeting or all arrangement rules, you're not gonna vote on this today. And if you do, what I said in the memo is what Mr. Love said, open floor to the public at that moment. But this is not gonna be on things that are gonna be voted. So if you discuss something and the people are here and actually hear what is actually being said and what's being proposed, it has to be on future meetings.
And so I think what the public is asking for is just a brief 2 or 3 sentence of summary or like description of, hey, what's going on? Like the place, the time to be, how different proposals we're going to be discussing those proposals in depth at this meeting.
I think it's a topic that's on the agenda already. That's the topic that's not interesting to come to the meeting regardless. Then understand if we're talking about the bar shelter, that's the passion about that one. You just said you're listening to the actual discussion.
I think that the public has consistently reached out and said that they want to know just a little bit more. We're not putting everything on it, but they need to know what they're preparing themselves for.
For example, this, excuse me, but when is number 16, sudden cardiac arrest presentation. I'm wondering, what is it? Is it a train? Just online, it says award presentation to various first responders. It just a sentence that describes that. That's, I think that's what, it's a delicate balance, because you're right, Dan, you don't want every item become well, debate, so it's telling it, it's a very delicate balance, but when we look at this sometimes, it's not clear what's the issue, and again, and I'm not criticizing anybody, but Mr. Huffman asked a question and we never answered. And because that's my question, my point of, and it was never answered, is Mr. Huffman, this agenda's been on for 5 days. Mr. Huffman, I used to work with Mr. Huffman.
Sure.
People can find out that information prior to the meeting. To ask a question on the spot at the meeting, what are you trying to do?
Well, so, Bill Harmer's there saying, it's it's we revised the budget because we felt this was a strong need for the community to bring in a workforce. Right? Like that's.
I'm right in the middle of both of you guys. I agree with you. I agree with you. We could be a little bit more.
If I'm frank, what the heck?
At the same time, we need to write paragraphs, but at the same time, we could be able to get a script. At the same time, Danny comes from a different point of view. He's been here a long time, and it can be monotonous. And if you do have questions, a lot of times you can reach in 24/7. Pretty much 5 days a week. 8 hours a day, if you have questions, if you want to know what's up.
So,
but I agree with you also. I think
it's a delicate balance. It's just a little more of a description of things. And if somebody just common courtesy, I'm not saying anybody's being disrespectful, but if someone asks us a question, we should answer it. Like how hard is that? Like we know, we have the answer. This township's growing. This guy brings 40 years of experience of road foreman, yada, yada, yada. Like we have the answer. Why not give it to them?
So, Vince, I think the big changes that we've seen in the last 4 years is there's been a minimization on public input. There's been reduction of speaking time. We don't even have committees to work and deliberate, in smaller groups before coming to the bigger board like there used to be. We used to have a workshop meeting at the beginning of the month where those discussions occurred. And then we got a general consensus, and then we put an action item on for the third.
Mr. Wigan, when did that happen? You brought that up a few times now. In my 17 years, we never had a workshop meeting.
It's happened.
When did it happen?
Huh?
When? Because I've never had one since I've been here.
It's been.
There was a period when we had 2 meetings per month, but they weren't workshop. They were both voting meetings.
Well, it started as a workshop meeting, kind of like I believe the school district has a workshop meeting and then an
And
action.
so do boroughs, and I came from, before being here, I was in 2 boroughs, and it's all boroughs.
I was at those meetings. I know West Erie used to have 2 meetings a month. So in the absence of having 2 meetings and no discussion, we're all working behind the scenes, and I'm sure, you don't want, for as many people who are in this room with the same question, calling the township building to say, hey, I have a question, but it's the same question. And you have to answer that question 39 times, or you have to answer that question to 5 different supervisors. And we're getting hammered with right to know requests because, people are saying we're not transparent. I think we.
Well, that alludes to what I was saying, like, it's in the memo I gave the board, other people's agendas. They're not 100 pages long. They're 2.
I'm not really necessarily talking about other people's municipalities. We're talking about West Erie, what our residents want. Our residents want us to be more open. We put an agenda out on Friday, and the meeting is on Wednesday, the following Wednesday. Okay? If anybody has a question, they only have Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. And what if it's really busy? I'm sure that you were busy because we got our manager report a little bit late, which is fine. We'll figure it out. But I would like a little bit more time with not only the residents' agendas, but our supplemental material as well. It's a lot of material to go through. It's a real lot of material for a regular resident to go through. I mean, this is 130 pages or whatever it is. So that's a lot. So they're going to go over the weekend, they're going to go over that, and then they're going to have a question either Monday or Tuesday. And then that ties up you as a manager to answer those questions for the residents, while the supervisors might have questions, or there might be a pressing issue. There could be a storm, there could be trees that fell on our concession stand, there could be other things. There could be massive power outages. So to not be able to get the agenda out there and then not be able to answer questions to the residents that come up, I think that's a disservice to the residents.
So what are you asking for, Mr. Payne? You'd like Mr. Mayor to be just a little bit more descriptive on this agenda?
I would like, yeah, and it doesn't have to be.
Well, just as a clarification, it's not my agenda.
Well, our agenda.
Yes, I would like a little bit more descriptive on some of those other items, and then I would like to figure out a way that we can get that material on there a little bit sooner. Whether it is a tentative draft of an agenda that's put out a week earlier or whatever, that's a possibility.
You want to give that out to the public or to the board?
I want to start with the board, but I wouldn't mind getting something tentative. If we get into a good habit of
If you get it out too soon, it's gonna be changed between.
Well, that's the issue we have right now.
That's the issue.
Because that's something that Mr. Payne knows this from his time working here, and Chief Loper, you know it as well. Like, we talked about this at our staff meetings. I try getting people to turn everything in 1 week prior to the Friday that the agenda goes out. Never happens. I'll get things on Thursday, like supervisors, the consultants, people like that saying, we need to add something right now. Like, you just saw the board add a motion today.
Friday to Wednesday is reasonable. Like, I mean, because if you go 10 days early, you're gonna be changing it there.
Well, I think that you could put on, if you have to supplement, but I think that the majority of the, like, manager report, that stuff that we did in the past month, that should already be culminated. The other reports, those are already done, that's for prior months.
Or you're confusing the manager's report with the agenda. So let's just focus on the agenda. What needs changed in the agenda?
Can I say, the other big thing that changed is, as supervisors, we would come up here and on the agenda, the police chief would speak, the public works foreman would speak. I spoke whenever I was the fire chief, Parks and Rec spoke, and there was a conversation that occurred between the supervisors as a whole and the individual department directors. That doesn't happen anymore. We get a report in a packet based on what they did for the last month. So I would just like to, number one, if you're looking for actionable items, take the public comments and just leave them as public comments before and after don't minimize it.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. Why would you have public comments at the end of the meeting? If somebody had a public comment when they walked in these doors, that was non-agenda related, why couldn't they ask that at the beginning? And if they had a question about something on the agenda, why couldn't they ask that?
Because they can't talk in the middle. Like, we don't open this floor up for every.
Okay, but it's like what I said, why are they gonna comment on a motion you already, not a motion, but a vote that the board already took?
You know, a question of clarification? Yeah.
No reason.
When I don't want the people who have new business, who just, want to come and make a public comment, have to wait till the end of the meeting, to bring something to the supervisor's attention.
And I can understand that that's the way it used to be. We had one public comment period, no, not agenda item only or non-agenda item only, public comment period at the beginning when that all took place.
I would like it to be beginning and end, but no
Designation.
no restriction.
I agree with them. I think that sometimes whenever we are talking, there might be something that's slightly related, that they have a question on or comment on, that something in the agenda triggers it.
And I think we need to be consistent.
I think the time limit that we set is reasonable to other communities, is it not? I mean, usually most communities are 3 or 5 minutes.
It's almost 3 across the board.
Yeah, it's almost 3 and we're doing 5, right?
But I think.
You do 5, excuse me, you do 5 for the agenda items at the beginning and 3 at the end.
So that I think is fine, because that's consistent with other communities. It's kind of a standard practice that it feels limiting for people. I understand that.
But I think we need to be consistent
But
because.
you gotta set some limits.
If we're stopping people at 5 minutes, we have to stop everybody at 5 minutes. Because some people have been allowed to speak longer.
And that's true. Whenever you've seen before, when you're answering questions, when there's back and forth between the board and the individuals, that time limit goes out the window because you can't hold somebody accountable for times they're not talking.
Yeah, sometimes those questions, like Mr. McCurry said, we have the answers. Why don't we just give them the answers? I mean, that's about openness and transparency in government.
And look, this is a policy decision, so I'm not going to weigh in too deeply, but one option you would have that may be more efficient is to finish the public comment policy, don't do back and forth. When the public comment period, is over, if there's any questions that, and I sort of mentioned this tonight, if someone wants to respond to any public comments that occur during the public comment period, the board can address those, but you want to kind of close that off, let the board speak. Otherwise, as you said, you can't enforce time limits, you can't, this is not meant to be conversational back and forth, right? That's not.
But when it gets to that, that's when we need to say, hey, we're not gonna resolve this tonight. We're gonna ask the township manager to, do some research, give us feedback. And we'll bring it back to the next month.
Yeah, but I'm talking specifically about the question that was asked tonight, right? So about the public works foreman. And what I said was, hey, the board's gonna have a chance to answer that question at the end of the public comment period. So we finished the public comment period. No one decided they wanted to answer because you're ability to do that, right? And so.
Also during the motion, when the item comes up in the
And there was a motion on the agenda, it could have been part of the discussion, right? But no one wanted to do that either. So, I think that there's a way to do it that's gonna make people feel responded to, but not go and send the meeting sideways with conversations with every resident who wants to come up and ask questions. It's just a suggestion. I see that working other places.
So then at the close of Mr. Huffman's comments, he sits down, someone else gets up and talks, and then John may say, or somebody may say, hey, in response to that, yes, we have reopened the budget, we're allocating the funds to do that, this is why, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, what I often see is
I think that's what we're asking.
you sort of jot down notes from commenters, let everybody comment, right? Finish all the public comment. All right, public comment period is closed. Mr. Chairman, is there Mr. Chairman, any responses that the board wants to provide? Yes. Mr. Hoffman asked a question about the public works director. Here's the answer. Maybe more discussion about that.
That's reasonable. What's the matter?
I think that, so we tell them what we think they wanted to know, but that wasn't what they really wanted to know. Now they can't, there's no follow-up. Like their 5 minutes is done.
I mean, there's 5 elected supervisors in this township.
Yeah, well,
they elected you to make these sorts of decisions.
So the general
So if you're explaining what it is that you're trying to accomplish, you know, you don't necessarily have to answer every piece of everybody's question. You're up here to do your job and run the township, right?
So I do, but if it's new information, like I might have a question, I want some feedback, like to help me make a decision or to provide guidance to our township departments and township manager.
It was just a suggestion. You can have whatever you want.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think the concerns that we heard last month was the limitation on public comments, the discussion being a little bit more explanatory as to what we were actually going to talk about, and what was the other one?
Your public comments on back.
What was the agenda? Make the agenda a little bit more
Yeah.
descriptive.
Yeah, the description.
Where, not all of them, like you don't need the West Deer #1 Fire Company report, that's self-explanatory.
Yeah, that's all right.
We still want to keep the agenda as efficient.
Yeah.
But I mean, if there are some.
The ones that you wonder about, just a sentence.
I got a question on the, while we're talking about the, meetings and everything like that. I see Mr. Mayor, has us, Zoom, or now being recorded. Are we, live on that then?
Yes, we are now. The cable that goes from here, this cable right here to there, there's a break in it somewhere. The tech came out and fixed it.
Okay,
Replaced the cable.
and then, as we discussed before, you got our monitors working as well?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what about the transcribed minutes? Have we been?
Transcribed minutes, the board, this is a policy decision of this board, but the last board said if we're gonna go to live streaming, there's no point in having, transcribed minutes. Because we were gonna criticize for the transcriptions because the MP4 file, or MP3, the audio file, gets translated by a program that Mrs. French has, and it translates it incorrectly. And people were saying, well, this is incorrect. Well, yeah, it is incorrect because the AI isn't that good. So she could go through and spend 6 hours, but if you're gonna do that, you may as well just hire a court reporter and call it a day.
Okay, so as far as going forward, since we didn't do the transcribe, but now we have the recordings, are we gonna be posting the recordings?
Yes, because that's been an issue as well. Like I've been going through myself. We haven't posted one of the meeting videos since last autumn. There's a lot of backlog on those. The last 2 meetings have no video. When the tech was out here, we loaded everything onto a flash drive. It had to be converted. I'm still working, as I mentioned to the board in my report, I'm still working on a better way to do this because this is not working. And I had a discussion with Zoom, a guru from Zoom, the actual company Zoom that creates the Zoom meetings. He recommended a couple options, and I would like to try those actually because I think there's a much more efficient way of doing this than having me. Right now, what's been going on is when we hit record on this, it records into that meeting, into that room, onto the box itself, but there's no way to get that information off of it except through an FTP site online. And so you have to go to a special site, jot down an address, go to another site, type that in, it downloads it, then you have to have this FTP app that converts it. And then I take that app, I go through the file, convert it, and then we upload it to the internet. And then Mrs. French has to post a link to it.
How long
It's
does that take?
ridiculous.
How long does that take?
Hours. No lie, it took, each file took about 45 minutes just to convert. And there's like 3 or 4 files per meeting.
But we only have one meeting posted.
True. And that's what I'm saying, it was locked on a device. So when the tech came out, he was able to show me how we can unlock it. And I have a flash drive in there right now, so I'm hoping that it's copied to the flash drive so I don't have to go through that entire process. I can take the flash drive onto my computer and upload it.
So whenever that 45 minutes for it to encrypt you don't have to be here watching it, you can.
And I locked up my computer yesterday.
Okay. But you have on the system, this is gonna be posted then?
It should be.
Okay, that was my question. Just making sure we're going forward that.
Yeah, we're trying.
Okay.
I mean, this is.
Chairman, can we continue on with the agenda, please?
I mean, we talked about a lot of stuff. And I think you're gonna be a little more descriptive in your, Mr. Mayor.
If that's what the board is.
And we're working through our bugs, with the,
I can get it's not my agenda.
So one of the proposals was to buy a computer for that.
My proposal, what Zoom is saying is if we got a small computer in there, it doesn't have to be a laptop, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just a computer that Zoom can run on. We would have to get an additional Zoom room subscription, and then it's a little bit more expensive, but then Zoom runs everything, and also gives the ability to use multiple cameras on different angles.
So, I mean, I think, and this is just my opinion, that we made it a point to approve this videoing of meetings. We posted one video online and then we stopped. And it makes it look like we're just not doing it even though.
And it also looks like when we don't have video that we're intentionally blocking, but we're not. And Mr. Payne saw himself, like if I turn on the camera, it's showing the iPad's camera.
do you need some IT help to help you with this? Because I don't think a lot of your time should be dedicated.
It shouldn't be.
I'm trying to, we're going to get somebody in here to help you. I think we should do that. If we need to buy a computer, I mean, you shouldn't have to spend hours of your day doing that. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, just help you just figure out the system and then.
And if we can't, then we'll hire somebody to.
And that's what we're trying to do.
Okay. All right, moving on. Dog shelter plans. There's another hot topic. The dog shelter plans, we've received some bids. Myself and Mr. Payne sat in on some of these, well, most of these meetings, and they, the bids came back a lot higher than the amount of the grant that we got. So at this point, you know, when people will say, well, what are you doing with the dog shelter? We only have so much money. Some of the lowest bid, I think, was 1.4 million, Danny, for renovations. We have a $350,000 grant, so we have to explore some new options.
Okay, so there's a couple different options. Obviously, now we have a agreed upon working model. So with that, I would propose to see if we can do a request for proposal and see if we can get somebody to design, a remodel option with this outlay, and then also an additional new build. So we have two options, and see if we can get those numbers to crunch a little bit better, because it's just not acceptable, this number right now.
There's three options there. We could also discuss possibly, if we did a new build, maybe, I know the plans were changed several times, and we had meetings with the architects. I couldn't even keep them straight anymore because Barb had suggested different things at different meetings, and she lost me a couple times. So I think maybe at this point we have everything that she requested that we put in this building. But I think we need to trust the architects now to try to help put it together. So how can we receive bids if every time I turn around the design is being changed and changed? So if we give her all of her options that she's wishing for in her wish list, we could receive bids. And again, if it's too high at that point, I think there's other options. Maybe we stand the building up and let her design the inside the way she wants. I mean, there's all kinds of things we could talk about to get it moving forward.
Well, I think right now, from what my understanding is that she likes these options that were laid out. Dan was in the last meeting with her. Is that correct, Nikki?
Yes, she said that look, if Mrs. Pasquale was here right now, she'd tell everybody she's in favor of renovating the building. That's simple. So she obviously is a fan of the first option, which is that one that's up on the screen. That's the renovation. The other two options are behind the EMS building, which looks like that, and behind the building right here, near the police department, which is basically identical but flip-flop. So she says there are things with this that the volunteers don't necessarily like, but you know what? What I've been talking with her about, and what Mr. Hall and I talked about, was there's a lot of different things that we can do. We see the layout, we see the size, To reduce costs, Mr. Payne even mentioned like there's alternative building methods and everything.
Yeah.
If you put out, kind of like what you're saying, RFP for the footprint, to build a building and have the dog shelter volunteers and everybody handle the interior, I mean, with something similar like this, would something like that work? I mean, because all this is a design to say, will this work? What do you need? What kind of floor do you need?
Yeah, there's a couple different types of proposals. You can have a request for bid where you have your plans already and you say, hey, I want you to build this. Or you have a request for proposal, which then you give a conceptual like this, and then they say, hey, I need you to build something very similar to this, but we have a budget of, so much money. Give me your best shot, and it's gonna be code compliant, we can get inspected, and you pick the building materials. But it has to meet these requirements of it. We have to be able to spray it down on the inside for the dogs. We have to, obviously meet the energy code, building code, all these different things, but then they design that. And there's a lot of contractors out there that enjoy doing that type of stuff. Because they could put their name on it. Well, I did this for Western Dog Shelter, it was a request proposal, it was my design, and we came together, we helped them, and then I'm sure that there's gonna be some kind of newspaper story that's gonna get them out there as well.
I don't think that's a bad idea to put it up for bid, but I think we only have so much money. I can't imagine the bids being that far off. I mean, maybe we look into another grant, maybe we look into building the shell and letting them, I know the dog shelter themselves, they have a substantial amount of money too. Maybe they want to kick in and help with the interior. I don't know. I mean, let's just talk about what else we can do to help her. But we only have, what, $350,000? $320.
Well, I
bids
think,
are 1.4 is the cheapest.
and I think that 1.4 is very high, to be honest with you.
I agree.
I think that, we have enough people out there that, can get some name recognition out for the Western Dog Shelter that could possibly help with, recruiting some builders that do that request for proposal specifically. But I do think that we do need to have some other options. So I wouldn't mind if we can't get this request for proposal. Obviously, no matter what we said, you should be in compliance with this. Is there any?
I don't have much to, this is in the board's court right now because the plans I sent everybody, this is on your iPads. These are the latest drawings. This is what we're discussing this week. Feedback.
Was the architect given a budget?
No, it was, when we met with the dog, with as well, it was, what do you need to make the dog shelter work? And we started with this renovation idea. The yellow is existing, the blue would be new.
Which was the plan at the time the grant was written?
Similar, the plan when the grant was written was to just basically replace the covered parking area the police used to use and make that same footprint into an office space. What happened after that, just to refresh everybody's memory, because we talked about this a couple months ago, when we met with Mrs. Pasquale, Mr. Shoup, you were there as well. He said, does this work for you, this outline? And she looked at it, she said, well, you know what, the volunteers and I were talking, we need more space for this, or we need more storage space. Boy, it would be nice to have a welcoming area. So we took her husband's initial drawing that involves just a carport and expanded that.
And if we have a definitive plan now, one we can stick with, then we can ask for, maybe we can ask the architects to come up with something within our budget and still meet some, probably not all, but some of her criteria. And we only have so much money unless we get another grant. If you want to apply for another grant, then you think one would be out there?
We're gonna be away from any other grants.
Sorry?
We're gonna be a year away from a grant if we apply today to further this project.
Can we extend the existing grant that long?
We could extend that grant, but like Mr. Wiggins is technically right. Like when you don't apply for a grant this month and get it next month. Usually it takes, it's something like an LSA grant or something like that. Usually takes about a year.
That's why the option 2 would be possibly a different type of construction. We talked maybe about pole barn construction as opposed to masonry. It may even be cheaper to.
I think as far as where the dogs are, I feel like that needs to be a masonry so they can be hosed down.
You can hose down, they do it with horses every day in the pole barn. You just metal pan the inside. I'm not saying it's definitely the way to go, but I'm just trying to throw options out there that we could possibly stay in the budget.
I do like the other options. The metal won't work because whenever I was, at the dog shelter, I had to replace some of the metal outside. Some dogs chew it. It's
Dogs eat metal.
unfortunately, it's.
Can we go back to the architect and say, no, please don't fit our needs or our budget?
I think that's what John just proposed, right? To go back to the architect and say.
Well, option 3 didn't even have parking. I mean,
Option 3 utilizes this
It
parking
would
lot.
be the parking lot police behind it.
So the other thing that we can do is we can do the request for proposal, and then I do like your option, that we talked about, John, was if we don't have all the money, then we build that shelf, and then next year. So, I mean, that is an option as well, but I think that, the next step forward, do we want to possibly see if we can do a request for proposal, or do we want to make a committee? What is our next step is what I'm getting.
Or we could research some grants for the future, but we could definitely do a request for proposal for
And we're kind of stuck though, because like this is where I need guidance from the board of supervisors.
Well, I think
You
a
have
request
three
for
options in
proposal
front
would
of
be
you.
more or less, I mean, I hate to say it, but how much new construction, if we build a shell and let her move into, or not move into, but we get most of it up.
Well, you can also do a request for proposal for this renovation.
Or if you tear the building half apart and then she's inoperable.
Not necessarily. I mean, you're gonna build this shell onto it. So I think that the request for proposal, and if we don't get any traction this month, then we go another option, we put it back on. But I think we start with a request for proposal. And I can work with, Mr. Mayor and whoever else would want to do that. And we can try to get some names and try to, see what they need for that request for proposal.
Would it not make sense to go back to the current architect that we're working with, who knows the needs, has the drawings?
See what they can do for the budget.
Scale this down, guy, like this isn't making it. Like that seems to be the most, from a time perspective, at least he could get something to us, in a few weeks. Instead of putting out the bid, if that's gonna take a month, then you gotta entertain the bid, now you're 3 months down the road.
Mr. Fleming, what are your thoughts? Because you used to build buildings, right? Like,
I don't have any comment on any of this. You hired an architect to build a building, he put everything in that everybody wanted, and it came out $1.4 million. So what do you gotta do?
it's still 3,000 square feet though. I don't know where the $1.4 million is going.
I get that,
So
but
I
all
think
the
we
extra
need to,
things,
we need to give them a
you
budget.
need to guide them in what you want.
Right.
and to clarify too, like, and I've said this multiple times, with this building, if it was residential, if it wasn't a government building, probably would have been $4 million, not $10 million. There's so much additional cost related when it's a government entity because of restrictions placed on us.
Can we do both options? Can we reach out to the architect and then give me authorization to see if I can talk to some builders and see if they give a rough estimate of what a number could be for a building this type?
Yes.
I mean, here's the thing, insurance and every coverage and the whole 9 yards, I don't know who you're looking at to.
Don't be so sure, don't be,
Yeah,
they're
they have to
reputable
be. And the
contractors.
biggest thing is they have to build it to last. I mean,
Yep.
it's the big thing. I mean, we got, even this building, hurricanes, different things, tornadoes, different things. We gotta
That's why
make
I'm
sure it's
just
safe.
Yeah, but no, I understand. There's a couple that I have in mind that I can reach out to. I know there's at least one that will be open to looking at this and giving us a rough estimate, no charge to the township, and at least we have a number that, hey, we could probably do it for this.
But I don't think, Bill, unless you have a thought in your head where you're gonna cut things and what you're gonna do, you're not gonna be able to give them any information. So that's why I said, go back to the original guy and say, look, this is way out of line.
I do have some ideas of where to cut, so,
What we gotta do to cut it.
you know, so.
Did they provide any plans for the concession stand?
They did, that was, part of the LSA grant. That was the,
I haven't seen anything from the concession stand.
Well, let's keep the dog shelter in mind first. Let's get this finished. Mr. Mayor needs some direction where he's gonna go this month with the dog shelter. Why don't we go back to the architect, ask them if they could scale things back to fall within our budget or get it at least closer to our budget. We could reach out to one or two contractors. I would like to be involved if you do that, Bill.
Okay, absolutely.
And,
I think we can all agree that the least expensive option is the current location, expanding it and renovating it.
absolutely not.
The least expensive option, but it might not be the best option.
I think that's the most expensive option.
That's not what the architect just said.
Yeah,
Well, you're gonna- if you're gonna-
it is shown as the least expensive.
Yeah, the 1.4 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, that's, the 2 million was building something completely entirely, what if we changed the type of construction? I mean, I'm not sold on the fact that it has to be masonry.
Okay, regardless of the material, I think that the current location makes the most sense and is the least
If
expensive.
we're gonna request the bid proposal, we could do both.
Yeah, I'm fine with exploring all the options. I think that's the financially responsible.
Let's do some more investigative work this month, Danny, you know, obviously you can try to get another grant, because whatever way we go, we're gonna need more money in the future, with that building anyway.
So for clarity, we've decided what, to go back to the original architect, tell them we need to get more on budget, scale it down.
And if Mr. Payne wants to reach out to a couple contractors, I'd be part of that as
Yeah,
well.
and I'll contact them, Mr. and we'll work together and get something, talking to some contractors and figuring out what we can do.
I think the problem with a lot of this too, I mean, I think we all agree when we were in those meetings, there was a lot of mind changing and, you know, one day it was, I need this, and the next day I need that. The architects weren't dragging their feet, they were trying to suffice everything that she needed, and it was just.
I think that we got some guidelines now, and we got some good, ideas, and I think we go forward and make a decision a lot quicker than we could before.
All right, we want to go to the next agenda item. Fire company cancer rider. Do we want to talk about this? Mr. Wigan, last meeting, you brought this up.
Yeah, I provided the supporting document via email to the supervisors and Mr. Mader. The difference between no coverage and $10,000 coverage is an additional $7,000 roughly. And the difference between $10,000 and $20,000 is another $7,000 for a total of $14,000.
Again, I feel personally that that's what we just, I know that everybody's increased their insurance rates, but I think that should be paid, but it should be paid out of the referendum money that we just got you an extra $140,000 this year. I think we should pay it out of that.
It was $132,000.
Yeah. That's my recommendation to the board. I think we should pay it out of that money. Does anybody else have any input on that?
I think that the volunteer firemen, they put their life on the line to go in structures. I think that, there are some possibility that they have long-term effects from doing that. Whether or not we go with the,
I think that's why we put it on the referendum, to get them more money. Stop them, almost $140,000, I think. That should. $132,000. I just don't want to burden the taxpayer of West Deer with more insurance costs whenever we just did that through a referendum.
do they currently, what are the current needs of, is everybody using that 132? Or is there room in that anyways? I guess that would be a question for.
I would say that there's room in all of them. I mean, we most certainly utilize the large majority of ours. So another $7,000 expense is going to come out of fundraising. And I I understand where you're coming from. I mean, I just want to make sure that the firefighters are covered. So, I mean, the township pays the workers' compensation insurance now. It would just be our existing policy if we choose to support it, whether it's $10,000 or $20,000. The Provident would make a fourth invoice, because they currently invoice each of the 3 fire departments individually, roughly $5,800 a year. And they would send a fourth invoice to the township, if the township so chooses to cover it.
Sure, I wasn't here last month. The way I understand it, you sent the documentation over and I read it and everything, but the way it sounds, and correct me if I'm wrong, the township pays the workers' comp, the fire companies have been paying that Provident policy out of the fire tax funds, or out of your, because I'm sorry, you're a supervisor right now, but the fire companies have been paying that out of their funds over these years, correct? And it included a cancer coverage.
It did. We pay for the Provident policy. It's a supplemental to workers' comp coverage. And we
Basically gap coverage.
Yeah, basically. And we pay that out of our state foreign fire insurance monies that we get from the state. So.
How much do you get from foreign fire insurance?
Last year was $27,000.
So out of your relief,
per department.
so out of your relief fund?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have, my department in particular, we utilize that funding for just the insurance, a life insurance policy, a small one, literally $2,500, and personal protective equipment.
Okay.
That's pretty much used up every year.
So what, I found this odd because it looked like what Provident did is said, here's your same policy, we're gonna take out the cancer and we'll charge you extra for it, which is basically amounts to an increase, right?
That's exactly what they did. They took the coverage out of the current policy and they made it a rider that you can choose to have or not have. So.
I think my personal opinion, if you decide to go with that, I think that's a great thing to do. But I think with the foreign fire insurance and the increased money we got through the referendum, it should be paid through that money. In my opinion, I don't think we should burden the taxpayers again with another $7,000 when we just got you guys an extra $132,000.
Sorry, you think we're burdened? I mean, that's
It's not a burden.
$7,000.
So I got a question.
It's not that way. You're not going to build it out to be that way. But we got the township of West Deer. It's just they went from $40,000 to $132,000, and it's going to go up every day with all the new development. So I mean, if you're using all that money efficiently down there, that should not be. It should be a good point. To be able to pay that without any problem. Am I correct?
I would say we use our money efficiently, but we
You
have
do?
a lot of expenses which you see on our financial reports that those don't get covered by the fire tax.
Is that 7,000 for each company or 7,000 total?
It is 7,000 total.
Total. So 7,000 divided by 3 fire companies.
Correct.
So we're talking
$2,000 each department for $10,000 coverage.
I believe the other fire companies already paid theirs.
We paid ours before that was even brought light, so we have to pay the balance.
And for clarification, the fire companies are asking, all 3 companies are asking that we pay out of the general fund?
Yes. Is that where the workers' comp insurance comes from?
So it's less than $2,500 for each fire company.
I was told by one fire company that they were not asking for any money for that. They've already paid theirs out of it.
All right, can you elaborate as to who that was?
I do not want to
Because
remember.
myself and number 2 were at the last meeting.
Number 2 had told me they had already paid their fund and they were not asking for any additional
She
money.
stood here and explained to you what it was.
He explained to us what you were explaining, but he said he already had paid his.
I understand that. And at the meeting with the
He said,
insurance
to be
company.
clear, we're not asking for any additional money. He said, we're not asking for any additional money.
Okay. Well, he's not here to defend himself. And at a meeting with all 3 fire departments and the insurance company, all 3 fire departments were in favor of bringing in conversation to the township. So either,
I think it's a great idea. I think we should do it, but I think we should pay it out of the fire tax. We just increased from 40,000 to 132,000.
it was not $40,000.
Is there a way to split it?
I'm fine with paying it all through the general fund because I think that they put their lives on the line.
And we also support the fire.
And I think that for $2,500 for each fire company, I think it shows that we appreciate them. It shows that we're behind them.
Nobody's disputing that. I'm just disputing where the money comes from, which fund we pay it out of. I think we should pay it out of the fund we just increased or triple more.
Well, the residents increased.
Other supervisors, how do you feel?
I'm sorry.
Can you offer an opinion on this?
Like I said, I think the fire company does a great job in the whole thing, but the taxes that we, in the referendum, I need to look at it, see what we got. We have more time.
Mr. McCurry?
I'd be willing to look at something like the split road. Each company kicks in 1,000 plus, we match
So
it.
do we want to table this until next month's meeting?
I would like to,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
just like
everybody's
discussion right now.
All right. All right, moving on. Referendum options. Yeah. Exactly. You want to elaborate on this, Dan?
Yeah, briefly. I can go into as much detail as the board wants me to, but the board did receive a memo from me regarding this matter. Did everybody get a chance to read that? It was fairly lengthy.
Yes.
So the discussion that came up before was the 5 supervisors with the 4 districts with 1 at large. And I explained what I did in my memos. I went through and I explained the history of that. And Mr. Fleming was the chairman of the board, chairperson of the board of supervisors back then, and he was also on the charter commission. What I explained in the memo for everybody here for your benefit is that it wasn't an easy decision by the charter commission. The charter commission put a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of due diligence into their decision. They also had a public workshop that was open to the public, was advertised, open to the public. The public was asked to come and provide feedback, because the only thing the charter commission knew for sure is they wanted to go down from 7 supervisors to 5. But what they presented to the public was 3 different options. One option was stay at large with those 5, go to 5 districts, or go to 4 districts with 1 at large. And after a lot of discussion, Mr. Fleming, if you wanted to add into this, it was discussed that it probably made most sense to go to the 4+1, simply because it's the only way that you can guarantee that there's representation throughout the township. The way I explained it to the board of supervisors in my memo was there was one huge con, and that was you could have 5 people from 1 block, 5 neighbors all in one area, and to the detriment of everybody else in the township. And that was the only way the charter commission could see that you could make even things up throughout the township. That's also the reason why they gave the 1 at large. Instead of going with 5 districts, they went 4 districts, 1 at large. So you had 1 person at all time that could basically, the way it was described by one of the charter commission members, was that 1 person could basically be a tiebreaker throughout the entire municipality.
I'd like to comment on this too. I was an advocate for bringing back everybody run at large, more supervisors, even before I was a supervisor. And after contemplating everything, I mean, it does make you think if you do bring everybody back at large, which I was all in support of that. You can do exactly what Mr. Mayor just said. You can get everybody from, if you get somebody that's passionate about an election, a certain agenda, you can bring everybody, you could have everybody from one city block right there. So I could go either way on this one.
So I think that hasn't happened in the past, and it would still have to be elected.
It happened in the past before in Rossington.
I must be before my time, but I think the bigger concern was the residents are upset that 50% of the population will not be able to participate in the next election. And I brought this up multiple times before. We currently have residents voting in the wrong districts. And when we brought it to the county's attention that I was listed in the wrong district and somebody else was listed in the wrong district, the county said, I wish you guys would just get rid of the districts. They don't even understand what the districts are.
They said that whenever I went down there, because everybody was listed.
Before you even continue, can you elaborate a little bit on the districts?
Yeah, that's something else I mentioned with the Board of Supervisors. This process, although we've been into this for like 7 or 8 years now, has never been completed. Because what was supposed to happen when this all started, when the Charter Commission first started, there were 8 voting districts. Everybody was at large. Nobody realized that there was a problem with the system because everybody was at large. There were no conflicts. What we have in Western Township now is you have 2 separate, and we try explaining this there's a great deal of confusion, but we try explaining this through the newsletter and outreach and things like that. There are voting districts and there are supervisor districts, and they're not the same. Some people, and I use myself as an example, when I moved to Western Township, I moved to the Oakwood plant near Bairdford. I got my voting card, I registered to vote in Western Township, I went to vote that day, and they had me voting in number 3 fire hall. For anybody who knows here, number 3 fire hall is not in district number 1. And on my way, because I was new to the township, I was on my way to vote at number 3 fire hall, I passed St. Victor's and noticed it was a voting location. So as soon as the office opened up for the county elections, I contacted them and asked them, can you please explain to me why I just moved? I'm the township manager in Western Township. I'm assuming other people have the same problem. Why are you having me vote at number 3 fire hall when I pass a voting location on the way? And she said, well, that shouldn't happen. We assign those randomly. We can change that for you. They changed me to St. Victor's that day.
Okay, but we understand all that.
But we never petitioned the court. It's not the county. We always were under the impression the county was going to change it.
Every time I brought it up, you said it was the county's issue, and I said, well, it affects our election.
And the county, I reached out to the county director of elections. The Board of Supervisors has the vote to send this to the court. The courts decide that. We need to do that anyhow. I can tell everybody in this room, the voting districts are designed to be equally distributed. So if you have 8 voting districts, each of them should have, I'm making this up, 1,000 people. Well, with all the new development that's taking place, those districts haven't changed since before I was hired here 17 years ago. So we need to do that anyhow. And my point is, if we do that, and we petition the courts, and these voting districts are then made to match the supervisor districts, then you can accurately determine whether or not this is working or not working.
But 50% of the township's still not eligible to vote.
Well, there's 4. So, 5, technically 5, because you have the 4 districts plus 1.
Well, they in their defense, not one way or the other on this one, but essentially they would have already voted, those districts would have already elected their person in office with the previous election. Understand?
That also means that they're not voting in every election, and it makes them disheartened to come out to vote again. And as far as districts go, there is.
I think they did this initially to make sure they had representation in all corners, but I'd like to hear.
Because that was the thing that Cedar Ridge and Grouse Run were saying they weren't representatives. They were saying Russellton controlled everything. So that was, I believe it's something.
Did you believe that?
Back in the day, yeah.
It was.
Well, at the time, if you look at the makeup of the board, yeah, it was
Cedar Ridge, sorry to interrupt, Mr. Curry, Cedar Ridge made up, it still probably does make up the largest voting block, the largest population center of the township. And throughout the entire history of Cedar Ridge being in existence in Western Township, one supervisor has been from Cedar Ridge, and that's Beth Jordan.
No,
that's not true.
That's not true.
Who else?
Tom, there was a gentleman, this was years ago, his name was Tom. I can't think of his name. He lived in Cedar Ridge. He lived on Sherbrooke Court.
But it's still few and far between.
Okay, well, right now, currently, does anybody on the board vote for just, I'm in Comerville, so should I only vote for Comerville stuff? Should I only be concerned with Comerville stuff? No, I'm concerned with everything in the township. And I believe that everyone else on the board is the same way. So if they're all at large.
They're trying to say they want representation from all different points.
But you're not gonna get the best candidate. And you might not get the best candidate. You
What
might.
if you get everybody from one city block? This is the question.
What if that person, all those people that are from that same city block, are the best candidates, and they're thinking, just like you're thinking, Mr. Hall, Mr. Klein, Mr. Curie, that, hey, we wanna do everything right for the township. But now, we couldn't vote. There was a lot of people that was really qualified in our election that we just, had.
The one concern, I could put it up on the screen because we actually had a slideshow at that public workshop. But the one con that came up for the districts was that the commission, and Mr. Fleming, you probably remember this, but the commission was concerned that there won't be enough people running. What happens if you don't get people to run in a district? Well, we don't have that problem. We had 4 people run from one district this past election.
Yeah, the election before that, you did not. What do you mean? You didn't have anybody voting for running in a particular district. Mr. Smolin ran on a write-in ballot because nobody was on the ballot.
That's not true. Bill was on the ballot.
This is the time
Maybe it's the
for.
one before that.
Correct? So I think you do lose your ability to select the best candidates if 2 of them happen to live in the same district.
And then you have somebody that isn't in that nobody runs in that district. Luckily, Mr. Smolin, organized right in, got in. And we got
But let's
to-
face it, I'm not just representing District 4. When I come up here and make decisions, I'm making decisions for the whole township.
That's right. And that's, again, the charter, the key question is how do you ensure distribution throughout the township? How do you ensure that?
It's not guaranteed. You get your people.
It is if you have districts, and that's what the charter commission is.
Well, here's the other downfall that I didn't see on your list. If nobody runs, then the supervisors appoint. And where does the electors get the opportunity to select a representative?
From a particular district.
That would have to be from a particular district. If nobody runs in that district, it falls on the existing supervisors to appoint somebody.
And that's happened a couple of different times. And we've got some good supervisors, so it wasn't flawed at that time, but it could be flawed.
I think we should put the general question out to the public. I've heard a lot of against the districts and not a lot of in favor of them. I understand why they made the decision and what they had to look at before, but I don't think that is realistic.
I've heard both, and that's what I'm saying. When the charter commission met, it came up a lot of different situations.
Yeah, I think I hear positives and negatives both sides. I think, how do we find out what people want? Some kind of survey?
Table this, talk about it on maybe we can table this till next month to talk about it again.
Well, this was brought up last month, and Mr. Rob, are we up against the deadline to submit?
No, I think if we, as long as we have in May vote to advertise, we will be fine with the deadline.
So
Maybe we table and we all go back to the research ourselves and see what our opinions
I
are.
have one last comment, and it was just something that I wasn't aware of before Mr. Major brought it up when he said that, if we did keep this system, that we should look at, adjusting those districts to the supervisor.
Mr. Perry, just interrupt, I believe that the board we should petition the courts to redo these no matter what.
Okay.
As the districts are not even right now.
Okay, so if we petition the courts, what happens whenever a new big housing plan gets done, or 2 housing plans in that area? We have to, is that something that we have to re-petition all the time?
Depending on where the boundary line would be, yes.
If it was all at large, we wouldn't have to do that re-petition.
I see both sides of this bill, but I think honestly, I think you do get representation. from
You
all.
still eventually would have to, because if you think about it this way, if you have a massive influx of population in one voting district, not supervisor district, voting district, then there's gonna be too many people going to one location and not enough people going to another.
We do.
Yeah.
We have 1,800 in District 8 and 500 in District 4.
Exactly, and that's why you still have to do it no matter what. I just still recommend that of the board, no matter what the board decides.
All right, so let's, we're convening on this one next month to talk about it. I'm trying to make a decision. All right, moving on. Alternative options, sell Millings.
Back to asphalt.
Yeah, back to asphalt.
I can make this, maybe, I alerted the board to this in my manager's report, but the board just voted to hire a public works director. Do we think maybe, I'm not gonna say table, but do you think it might be wise just to get his input?
Yes, because while we're talking about selling them, I've looked in some of the back alleys I feel could use asphalt millings reapplied to them. So I would like to gauge on our need versus what we're willing to sell.
I do understand that there is an access though, and we need to find something to do with
Do we
them.
know how much we have? I mean, has it been measured?
I think Mr. Shoes originally asked
So we
me.
sold some.
I think we sold 1,800 and it doesn't look like we sold any.
I was gonna say, one time I did calculate that out, but I was just gonna ask that, you took 1,800 out.
Yes.
What did it do to the, I haven't seen it.
I guess we
Three or
heard
four times that in there?
Maybe 6 or 7 times that.
I was thinking 7,000. And we're getting more this year.
What? I thought we were gonna put that in the contract, that they take the millings.
I think it was not, it might have been talked about, it was never decided.
I'd suggested at one point, instead of double handling this stuff, if they only offer you peanuts at the milling, to get back to the, maybe to save some money, maybe we could, if we put it out for bid the last time, maybe we could put it out to bid to where if they're delivering somewhere close, maybe we can sell it before, if they commit to taking it all. Instead of selling for $4 and we were getting $8 for it, maybe we ask contractors if they'd like to buy if it were delivered to them.
Yeah.
Because if they're gonna deliver
They're already moving.
right, why couldn't we make more money and never handle it? For the future, maybe that's something we could talk about.
Just so you know, what I've been told, well, last year, but maybe 2 or 3 years ago, by paving companies is, would we get a discount if we had them take the millings? And the answer is generally no. And the logic I was told was, because everybody's doing milling before paving now, there's very few people still do just overlays, which was very popular 20 years ago. That these asphalt, the plants have so much material there, the plants are saying, we're not gonna pay for it. We'll take it, but we're not gonna pay for it.
And they got trucking costs for it.
Yeah.
What were we charging for ton?
$8. But if we could sell to, one contractor or 2 contractors or 3 contractors that would pay us I don't want to say retail, but, that kind of money where our guys never have to touch it.
And
Where it's
currently,
just
we're not
not-
doing it, right? Like, we're not selling it currently. Like, that's
Not,
the question.
we sold some in the beginning, but
The bid we put out, they offered 10 cents a ton.
It was crazy. So we could talk about this later.
I like the idea of using the foreman.
I also like the idea of whenever they're known it, that if we have somebody that, a supply yard or whatever that's close in the
That'll
township.
take it.
Sell them to
and
them.
take maybe a large portion.
Yeah.
Those
and-
are the people who, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Ship, those are the people who gave us 10 cents a ton.
That was a paving company. I mean, I've reached out to folks that literally do buy, because the state sells theirs at a pretty reduced cost. and then they'll take it, purchase from the state, and then they'll sell it for more expensive to the, you know.
Yeah, they get it for $1 and sell it for 12.
Yeah. But, I mean, Mike's been around the block quite a bit, Mr. Funk. I mean, I think it's a good idea to talk to him. I don't know what they're doing under Ross where he was at, so, I mean, they need to do something. We're gonna think.
All right, well, we can bring that up to Mr. Funk. When is his hire date? When-
Technically, May 1st.
May 1st, okay. New business for future discussion and action.
I got a comment, I'm not sure if it's new, well, old business. The phone system, did we ever get that updated, so the directory?
The phone system, we had a phone guy in here, and I wish Mrs. Borchek was still here. That was just a week or two ago. I don't know, they talked about the directory, but the directory is not going to come on automatically because we've always wanted them to answer the phones. And we only have 5 people working here. So you have the personal touch, but if what we did discuss is that if Mrs. French is not at her desk, it will go to the directory.
Okay. Is there any action the board needs to take to get that to be resolved? So whenever a resident calls, they either get Mrs. French or another social.
That's what I just mentioned. What normally happens is Mrs. French answers the phone. If she's not there, and if Mrs. Morelli knows it's a call she can answer, but if she doesn't pick up, then it goes to the directory during working hours. After working hours, automatically goes to the directory.
Is that already in place now?
From what I understand.
Okay, good.
All right, announcements? None?
I have one, and the fire department of West Here number 3 will be hosting a rabies clinic on April 25th.
Okay. Any other announcements? Public comment, non-agenda matters of general township concern.
Yeah, Frank Huffman again. Just to listen to your comment of your road department, your road program, you may want to consider Russellton Dorseyville is not a township road. It's a state road.
Right, the part that is in consideration is in front of the townhouses. That's township.
Okay.
On the other side of Saks.
Vicky Austin, Hemlock Street. Documents were submitted to Allegheny County Board of Health for a dehydrator at the Leto site. The documents they included said it will spew over 70 tons of pollutants and known carcinogens into our air yearly. In September 2024, when our gas and oil ordinance was being updated, crowd and members of the public advocated for classifying gas and oil infrastructure as a conditional rather than a permitted use. Doing so would have allowed the township to evaluate these industrial facilities, such as a dehydrator, and thus make decisions to safeguard residents' health, safety, and welfare. Unfortunately, the board opted to make gas and oil infrastructure a permitted use. Now we find that EQT intends to build this dehydrator unit at the Leto site in addition to the wells and the coming compressor station. Residents near Leto already experience constant noise. I'd like to invite anyone to come on my street. The street acts as a funnel, and the noise just is funneled straight down my street. There's not a person living there who hasn't complained to me. We can now look forward to this pollution in addition to more noise. It didn't have to be this way.
Thank you for bringing up the fire department referendum money. Good evening, Steve Brennan, Bakerstown, Comerville Road. I'm speaking on my own behalf and not on behalf of the fire department, although I am a member. In January, Mr. Mader shared an email with me that you guys discussed in executive session litigation regarding fire company number 1. That's my fire company. I think it's possible that very few members of the public behind me are aware that our Board of Supervisors are in what has now become a legal dispute with one of our own fire companies. They also may not be aware that just after the public voted on that referendum that you were talking about, that to our volunteer fire companies on that 2023 ballot, the board took that opportunity within a couple of months to add additional reporting requirements beyond how our tax money is being spent by those departments. I think that everyone agrees, including all 3 fire departments, according to the meeting minutes that I read, that every single penny of taxpayer money absolutely should be accounted for and publicly available for all to see. But what is in question is the requirement for our fire departments, which are all 501c3 nonprofit organizations, to publicly share their private financial accounts with the public, which is very unusual. What I would like the board to consider for your next executive session is to honestly ask yourselves whether you and we as a community really believe that a local government should be peeking into any nonprofit organization's private accounts that have zero interaction with any taxpayer money in any way, not to mention also demanding financial reports from a completely separate organization, a Volunteer Fire Departments Relief Association, that has a completely unique tax ID and has no relationship with the township at all. I'd like to see renewed discussion, maybe in your next executive session, whether this is what we want to be doing as a community. I was reminded yesterday that this is the 25th anniversary of 9/11 this year, and that's the reason many of us, including myself, became firefighters to begin with. I'm disappointed with what was forgotten in 25 years. I heard you all campaign. I would encourage this new, more transparent board to consider whether it is in the best interest of West Deer to continue to withhold what is so far an entire year, what we now know is $132,000 of funding that you still collected from all of us taxpayers. Thank you.
I'm David Conceal on 3687 Cedar Ridge Road. I'm just expressing my concerns with the excess water I've been receiving on my property since the new developments have been added. Last Thursday, my yard flooded and started putting septic up into my home, where I had to relocate my young children and my wife. I reached out to Weaver Homes, who built Ridgewood Estates, and he sent me the plans, which shows the retention ponds draining into a basin, which then go under Cedar Ridge into the creek that goes in my neighbor's yard and my yard. And I was just wondering, I've been to the meetings when they were doing that, and I was just wondering why there was no study for a 20 or 50-year-old storm or any rain events. I now have my neighbor threatening to take legal action on me for the flooding, which I don't understand how that's my fault. I received bids for a new pipe under my driveway because my current pipe cannot withstand the extra water I'm receiving. And I have bids from 19,000 all the way to 15, down to 15 was the lowest. On top of all this, I have the state has a culvert that just drains from Cedar Ridge directly into my yard. I've contacted the state, they came, they looked at it, said there's nothing wrong with them. I have videos of it, I have pictures of all the flooding. I have pictures of my yard flooded and the pipe is shooting out like a pressure washer, which shows that it cannot take that much volume. I also was just wondering why, when they were developing Ridgewood Estates, I didn't see anyone come to see if my pipe would handle the extra bulk. Thank you.
Hey Dave, what size is your pipe in your driveway?
The current pipe, I believe, is 24 inches. My neighbor just had a 36 installed. The neighbor below me has an 8-inch terracotta. So,
All
as
the driveway?
under the driveway,
Under
yes.
the driveway. And you go down to neighbor 2 down, as good as the 8-inch?
He just has 8-inch, yes. So if a twig gets in front of it, that's a whole pond at the bottom.
So, whenever they sent you over those plans, did it denote what type of, stormwater ponds? They got 1, 2, 6, 8? What do you got?
They did not mention that. It shows me there's 2 ponds, and I believe the top pond drains with the bottom pond. And currently, I have pictures of it. Right now, the bottom pond is full of water.
So I vaguely remember whenever it was, because this started whenever it was, I think Bruce Crum was the original developer that started it. And the plans may have changed, but I think that he originally got approval for it, and it was for an infiltration pond. So that was, is it possibly just sealed it up? Can we have somebody take a look?
I think what it is, Mr. Payne, is that if you mentioned that bottom pond's holding water, and it's still acting as a sediment trap. It's not been converted to a true stormwater detention pond. And the reason being, because they still got some bare dirt. They're still doing work up there, building houses. So.
And who's responsible for that?
Well, the Conservation District kind of oversees that whole, sediment trap business and the E&S work and so forth. I mean, the township can too as well. Ms. Lucas sent me an email a couple of days ago about, apparently it was this, and I just frankly haven't had a chance to look into it, but I'm going to. So, what's your name again, sir? Just so I can.
David Castillo.
David Castillo.
Hey, how long have you lived there?
I've been here for about 11 years.
This is the worst it's ever happened.
And yes, so I've never really had it, and then as the new development started coming, it started getting a little worse. And then this Thursday was by far the worst. That it backed up so much that it leached into my leach bed and brought sewage up into my house. My septic system overflowed, and that has never happened.
Did you install that pipe?
No, that was there whenever I purchased them.
There's a chance that that pipe could be too small.
Yes, so the previous 10 years I've been there, my pipe's flowed. Now, my pipe can be replaced. It's an old tin whistle pipe, but I never expected to have to, go up to 36-inch pipe and receive bids for $19,500.
So you'll look at everything when you go out there.
I will.
Figure out who it is.
Can we ever be made to maintain their pond?
Pardon me?
Can we ever be made to maintain their pond?
Oh, definitely.
If it's a silt, not a stormwater?
No, that's the glitch. Until they get the site pretty well stabilized, they're required to, like as he says, it's virtually full. The reason it's virtually full is to give that sediment time to settle out of the water in the pond down to the bottom.
Gotcha.
Well, is there currently that sediment, is it just the sediment, can it be cleaned out some? And then have a little bit more capacity, possibly to reduce the size of the outflow?
Possibly. I mean, there's supposed to be measuring sticks in there, rods in there, to tell you how much sediment's in there, and once you get so far, you're required to clean it up.
I drove past it and it's to the rim.
So, Dave, is your number? Do we have your number? Everything?
I'm not sure. I could give it to someone.
At least make sure
You
that
know.
our commander did. And,
412.
Those last 4 digits again?
What's that?
What were the last 4 digits again?
Thank you.
Yeah, 37 Clipwood Lane. I'll be brief. I know we're all tired and want to go home. I just first of all want to say, although it was lengthy, I appreciate the discussion you guys did around the agenda and things. I think that was very helpful. I just wanted to put in there that having at least, one of the things I think having a brief explanation to know will help do is maybe at the beginning reduce unnecessary public comment and some of the duplication because we'll have some idea of what's actually going to be discussed. So I appreciate that. Also wanted to mention that the comment at the end is very helpful because there are things that come up during the meeting that we then might want to follow up on because you are representatives and this is a way to talk to you all at once. I did want to mention also briefly that the information Vicky's handed out about that additional dehydrator they want to put in. I should just point out that I still looked it up. The 400 barrel tanks, that's 16,000 gallons of tank. They're going to store 48,000 gallons of brine, fracking fluid, that they said when they had the hearing they were not going to do. So things are changing, and unfortunately, the township's not aware. I wish we had the conditional use back in for that type of equipment, because we could have some say-so on what they do and what they can. The other thing I wanted to mention briefly is, I mentioned this to Amanda at the end of the last meeting. If I can be of any help with an IT consulting on the video stuff, I'm happy to do it. That was my career for 48 years until I thought I retired, which apparently I haven't. I'm offering, if I can be of any help for consult, I'll be happy to do that. And Daniel, just so you know, somebody alerted us at 9:30 the live stream stopped. Okay. Thank you.
Just to clarify, man, we're not gonna get any type of drawings for permits for this, for the gas dehydrator.
This, I would assume we would get at least a building permit for it, but I don't want to misspeak on the record, I'm not aware.
Good evening. I just have a question here. The section 34, public comment. Could it maybe in there you put in non-agenda items, also discussion items not voted on, so that you could discuss things? Because the next item I'm going to bring up, even though it's on the the agenda, I have no idea what it was. Referendum questions, options. And I'm just following up on what Mr. Holmbaugh said, that I too was one time in favor of going to at large, but I think it's probably better off to stay the way it is, because it does give equal representation, and you could have people, all 5 people from one street, one district, one area. So I changed my opinion on that. And if you would think about adding discussion items only into that public comment, it might cover some of the things you're talking about. Because we don't know what some of these are. They're just a title. So therefore you're opening that up to be discussed. Not all the other stuff, but anything that we don't know what it is could be added at the bottom, discussion items only.
Are you talking about having a public comment for each of the discussion items?
Just open it up to not all of them.
You'd be able to do that under public comment. You can make comments on.
No.
Yeah, but no, they're agenda items.
You don't know what it is.
Incorporate the public into the discussion.
Especially when we don't have it listed what it is.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, because nobody knows, I didn't know what referendum options.
I think
I had a clue what it was.
we are gonna have a short description now, but I agree with you, that's not
Yeah,
bad.
we could put in, that's where you might have some discussion, not on all the other end that you're voting on. Obviously, I think Daniel's right on that. Why would we discuss things that are being voted? We just want to discuss things.
Clarification.
That's just my thought.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn? Anybody else?